Your sister deserves this more than you. My father's words echoed through the garage as he stood over the flames consuming my research project. The firelight danced in his eyes, but there was no warmth in his stare. My name is MIT.I, and at 18, I had just won the National Youth Science Competition with my work on sustainable energy. The prize? A $100,000 grant and a full scholarship to MIT. I stood in silence, watching 3 years of dedication go up in smoke. My prototype, my notes, my presentation boards all turned to ash, because my younger sister Jessica came home crying after being rejected by her dream school. "Look what you've done to your sister," my mom snapped, holding Jessica, who wept dramatically in her arms. "She's devastated. The least you can do is give her your scholarship. You're smart enough to win another." My heart pounded, but I didn't flinch. They didn't know I had backups on hard drives on the cloud. They didn't know the competition officials had archived everything, or that a local news crew was scheduled to come tomorrow to cover my win. "Are you even listening?" Dad barked, kicking at the smoldering remains. "Jessica has wanted to go to Stanford since she was little. Your scholarship money could help her get there." Still sobbing, Jessica managed to choke out, "You don't even care about me. You've always been so selfish with your stupid science stuff." The irony nearly made me laugh. For years, I worked alone in this garage on my clean energy prototype while Jessica was busy leading pep rallies and planning school dances. Our parents never missed a single one of her events. But they never showed up to a single science fair. "The officials will be informed that you're declining the prize," Mom declared, as if the decision was hers to make. "Jessica needs this more than you. You can enter another competition." I finally spoke, voice even and clear. "No." Dad's face turned red. "What did you say?" I said no. "Prize is mine. I earned it." Mom stepped forward, disappointment flashing across her face. "After all we've done for you. We let you use the garage, bought you supplies." "I bought my own supplies," I cut in. "With money I earned from tutoring. The same tutoring you told me to quit so I could help Jessica with her homework." "How dare you?" Dad began, stepping toward me. I stood firm. "Channel 5 will be here tomorrow morning. They're doing a feature on my work. They're especially interested in my sustainable energy research." The room went silent. Even Jessica's tears dried up. "What news crew?" Mom asked, her voice suddenly cautious. I pulled out my phone and showed them the email. "They're sending their environmental science correspondent. Some major tech companies have already reached out." Dad paled. "But your project is safely backed up and fully documented. The organizers have everything." I turned to leave. "I suggest you clean this up before they arrive. The scene of the crime won't look great on national television." "You wouldn't," Jessica whispered, stunned. "You wouldn't embarrass us like that." I looked at her, really looked at her. For years she was the golden child. My accomplishments always came second to her needs. "I'm not going to lie," I said simply. "If they ask what happened, I'll tell the truth. If they ask about my family's support, well, that truth is up to you." As I walked away, I heard Mom burst into tears and Dad curse under his breath. Jessica called after me, "Emma, wait. Let's talk." But there was nothing left to say. They hadn't just tried to destroy a project. They tried to erase my future. This time they failed. The next morning, I dressed in my competition blazer and reviewed my notes one last time. The garage had been scrubbed clean overnight. I could hear my parents whispering in the kitchen, scrambling for damage control. At exactly 9 a.m., the Channel 5 van pulled into the driveway. Through the window, I watched as my parents turned pale and Jessica froze mid-text. "Good morning," the reporter greeted with a smile as I opened the door. "I'm Sarah Martinez from Channel 5. And just like that, the truth was no longer mine to hide behind her. The cameraman was already setting up. "And this must be the brilliant young scientist we've heard so much about." "MIT.I," I said, shaking her hand. "Thank you for coming." My parents rushed in with plastered smiles. "We're so proud of our Emma," Mom gushed, reaching to put her arm around me. I sidestepped smoothly. Actually, I'd prefer to do the interview in the garage. That's where I built everything. The color drained from Dad's face. The garage might not be the best setting. Nonsense, Sarah said brightly. That's perfect. Our viewers love seeing where the real work happens. We headed toward the garage. I pulled out my tablet. I've got all my research documentation here, I explained, including video logs of the development process. Sarah's eyes lit up. That would be amazing. We'd love to include some of that. No. Everyone turned. Jessica stood stiffly, her face pale. I just mean, maybe it's better to focus on Emma's future plans instead? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Your sister seems very invested in your work, Emma. How has your family supported your journey? I could practically hear my parents holding their breath. Jessica looked like she might bolt. I smiled and connected my tablet to the small projector. Let me show you. The garage wall lit up with footage. 3 years of work, carefully dated, each step of the journey logged. Videos of me working into the night, alone. Photos of science fairs. Me standing by my project, while other children were surrounded by proud parents. Clips from regional competitions, with no family cheering me on. As you can see, I said calmly, it's been a very independent journey. Independent indeed, Sarah noted, her tone sharp with understanding. No family presence at any of these events. We were busy with other things, Mom stammered. Cheerleading competitions, I added quietly. They never missed those. The cameraman zoomed in on Jessica, who was shrinking in place. Sarah pressed on. Now that you've won such a prestigious award, how has that changed the family dynamic? Dad opened his mouth, but I cut in first. Actually, last night was pretty revealing. Would you like to see? Before anyone could protest, I tapped the screen and played the garage security footage, installed months ago after my tools started going missing. There, in crystal clear video, was my father setting fire to my project. My mother and sister stood nearby, watching. The garage went still. Oh my God, Sarah breathed, recovering quickly. Emma, would you like to comment on what we're seeing? I think it speaks for itself, I said evenly. Luckily, everything was backed up. My research is safe and the prototype can be rebuilt. People might try to destroy your work, but they can't destroy your knowledge or your determination. Sarah's eyes gleamed. She knew she had just uncovered a much bigger story. This is incredible, not just your scientific achievement but your resilience. You're an inspiration. My parents were frozen in place. Jessica had already slipped out of the garage. Sarah turned smoothly. Would you like to show us how your energy solution works? Of course, I replied, launching my interactive digital model. It all started with one question. How can we make clean energy accessible to everyone? As I explained the science, I caught sight of my parents slowly backing out of the garage, their carefully curated image of a supportive family in ruins. But for the first time I didn't care. I didn't need their approval. I had my work. I had my future. And I had the truth. The aftermath was chaos. The segment aired that evening. By morning it had gone viral. Teen scientist triumphs despite family sabotage was trending everywhere. Messages poured in. Young people sharing their own stories of being dismissed or undermined by their families. My phone buzzed nonstop. My parents locked themselves in their room, avoiding calls from relatives. Jessica alternated between sobbing in her room and texting me angry accusations about ruining the family's reputation. But what really shook them was what came next. The MIT admissions office called. Ms. Chin, the rep said, in light of recent events, we'd like to upgrade your scholarship to include full room and board, along with a dedicated research stipend. We value resilience as much as academic excellence. Then came the corporate offers. 3 major tech companies reached out with internship and funding proposals, the same companies my father had once mocked when I dreamed of applying. 2 days later, Mom finally approached me in the kitchen. Her voice was low. Shaky. Gone was the commanding tone. What you did? You humiliated us. I kept making breakfast, not bothering to look up. No, Mum. You humiliated yourselves. I just told the truth. She sighed, weary. The neighbors won't even look at us. Jessica's friends' parents are calling us abusive. Your father might lose clients over this. I finally turned to face her. Actions have consequences. Maybe now you understand how I felt, watching my life's work burn in front of me. She sank into a chair, looking suddenly older, smaller. We just wanted what was best for Jessica. No, I said quietly. You wanted what was easiest for Jessica. There's a difference. She could have worked for it like I did. But instead, you taught her that she deserves whatever she wants. Just because she wants it. The doorbell rang. Mom stood startled, but I was already moving to answer it. It was Dr. Rivera, my mentor from the science competition. She'd driven 2 hours to see me. Emma, she said, pulling me into a hug. I saw the interview. We all did. The entire scientific community is talking, not just about your research, but your courage. From behind me, my mother hovered silently, unsure whether to stay or flee. The National Science Foundation wants to feature your story in their youth outreach program, Dr. Rivera continued. You've become a symbol for every young scientist who's been told to shrink themselves. That afternoon, an email came that changed everything. One of the country's leading sustainable energy corporations wanted to fast-track my research for development. They offered full funding, a dedicated lab, and immediate relocation. I was packing when Jessica appeared in the doorway. Her eyes were red, but her voice was clear. You're really leaving? Yes, I said, zipping up a suitcase. They've arranged temporary housing near their facility. She hesitated, arms crossed. I didn't get into Stanford. I know. Mom and Dad. They're different now. They're making me apply to community college. Told me to get a part-time job. She laughed dryly. They've never made me work for anything before. I stopped packing and looked at her. Maybe that's not a bad thing. She stared at the floor. I hate you, she whispered. But there was no venom in it. Only hurt. And honesty. But I also get it now. What they did to you. What I did. It wasn't fair. No, I agreed. It wasn't. Will you ever forgive us? Thought about it. Forgiveness isn't the point, I said gently. Growth is. Maybe this is your chance to figure out who you are, without them paving every step. The morning I left, Dad finally emerged from his self-imposed silence. He stood in the driveway while I loaded the last of my things. The company you're going to, they're industry leaders, he said stiffly. Yes. And that's a full ride now. He nodded. Room, board, and a research stipend. He looked down, swallowing hard. We were wrong. I was wrong. I didn't see. I didn't want to see. I know, I said. But sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones that finally teach us something. I shut the trunk. As I pulled out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of them in the rearview mirror. My parents and Jessica, standing together on the porch of the house that had never truly been home. They looked smaller, faded by truth. My phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Rivera. Ready to change the world. Smiled. The lab was waiting. The research was waiting. My life was waiting. Sometimes losing your family's support means finding your own strength. And sometimes that's exactly what you needed all along. Ready, I replied. And pointed my car toward the future.